Hello, my friends. I'm Asha, and I'm here today with my friend Aditya. Aditya is one of the leaders of the Ananda Sangha Center in Pune, India. I've had the pleasure of spending many days in their wonderful center with all the devotees there. So, good morning to you, Aditya. Morning in India. Yes.
Good evening, Asha.
Aditya, I think people would really like to know how you where you grew up and who you were before you became a disciple of Master.
Well, I grew up practically all over the country because my father held a job in the Indian Army and he's a doctor. Every couple years, we moved from Jammu and Kashmir to South India, Rajasthan to Bengal. So it was a very interesting and diverse upbringing. I really enjoyed it. Looking back now, I realize not many people get that opportunity. And I was a doctor too. Seeing my father do his work over the years, I was very early on fascinated by what he was doing. And I remember in 5th, 6th grade saying, oh, wow, it would be so nice to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And that's what I ended up becoming. I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And yeah, my family, very beautiful, simple family, wonderful parents. And the upbringing was spiritual. I look back now to see the distinctions. There was no religious overtone over there. Kind, serviceful, dharmic parents. So I enjoyed that upbringing.
Did you have any special interests? Were you athletic? Were you a reader? Were you social? What kind of a boy were you?
Actually, yes, I did enjoy sports very much from early on. I've enjoyed them throughout. Even now, I enjoy doing some sports. Reading also came naturally, even though I confess I didn't do much reading. I don't know. It's interesting. I have a love for books. Even now, I own over 1,000 books. I run a library in Pune, but my joy comes equally if I see anybody else read those books. So I get good books. I read them occasionally. I enjoy picture books. Again, since you asked, it never struck me, but in childhood too, I would enjoy nice pictures, picture books. So yeah, social, I don't know. If the occasion demands, I can be social, but I don't know. I'm maybe somewhere in between. I can't say I'm too social. I can't say I'm a shy person, but I've been like that always.
When you were moving around a lot as a child, did you just find it easy to change? You must have had to change languages and to a certain extent cultures and so on. So that was that an adventure for you, or was that a difficult challenge?
Pretty much in the early part of my life, it was Hindi, the mother tongue and the national language. So much didn't change. The only thing I remember was leaving friends. That was challenging. Every so many years, you left some friends, but then immediately it was replaced by making new friends to the new place that you went. Of course, those were the times when friends would write letters to each other, which I'm very grateful that some friends did, and I would reply. So that's the one thing I remember about traveling. But language by itself was not much of a challenge. I took to it easily because, yeah, there were times when we were in South India or in Bengal, was a different language. But you enjoy it, you learn some words, you get by.
So by the age of 5th or 6th grade, you said you were already interested in medicine. Was it the science of the body that interested you? What part of medicine would attract you at that age?
I remember breakfast conversations with my father, asking him where he went in the night because an ambulance would come and he was gone. And it was not like you think, oh, he's gone. Last time he went for half an hour. But sometimes he came hours later. Sometimes he would stay back in the morning, and then you say, what happened? And he said he had to wake up all night. So I remember when he would say, somebody's life was saved. That was really, I didn't probe it further, but in my mind, I was thinking, that's interesting. I just went to bed, but my dad saved somebody's life, somebody's father's life, some child's life. So I just got very intrigued about what was it that he knew that was making it possible to do that. And I have to say, life also placed me at one particular time. We were in Rajasthan, and my study room was facing the main road, not too far away. And there was a Shamshan Ghat, a cremation ground very close by, just 100 meters off that road. Every other day, and it was the cremation ground for the whole town of Alwar. So every other day, I would see people being brought dead, bodies being brought for cremation, and I just got in. So I would be studying, and then I would see what's going on over there. Why is, because sometimes they play music. You see, if an old person dies, it's a celebration of a wonderful life they had. So there's a certain kind of music without singing. So I'd be like, what's happening? So that got me interested about death, and then I would see my dad is saving lives. So I just got interested, and people suffering would move me too.
I just go back for a moment. So that the idea of death, because for those of us who don't live in India, in America, what you would see would be a hearse. But I know in India, what you see is people carrying a cot with a body on it. So it's very much more vivid. Death is much more vivid in India. Did it not frighten you at all? Even as a child, you felt comfortable just seeing the bodies go by?
Yeah, they're covered in a sheet, in a white sheet. But yeah, I was okay. The fear never came. The thought came that, oh, somebody just lost someone. What must they be going through? And so it was this question of avoiding suffering in life, as a doctor, what I saw in my dad. And then, somebody dies finally. And I have to say, years later, that's what actually brought me on the path, because those questions kind of intensified. They became more intelligent that what happens after death and things like that.
But as a child, it was just the circumstances and you just accepted it. But you were starting to say also, you had a desire then to alleviate suffering. Speak to that.
I would say that, yes.
How did that manifest as a child, as a 6th grade, 7th grade?
Actually, over and above seeing my father, who was a physician, I met a lot of surgeons too, because as a child, I would fall down a lot. I would fall while playing, while cycling, while climbing. I mean, if you look closely, you'll see a lot of signs of that on my face alone. So I was very grateful when somebody, stitched me up or cleaned my wounds and I came out. I was like, wow, I was painful. But this good doctor, saw me nicely, put some powder on me, did my bandages for a few days. So I think that feeling that, oh, we are painful now, but through somebody's intervention, you're very happy, confident, and you don't have to worry. I remember one time there was a small stone that got into my hand and I didn't tell anybody out of fear. Well, it manifested itself and it swelled up in my hand and there was infection. But I remember the doctor was so kind and he said, oh, there's a little stone in there and let's see what we can do. And I just realized he was very calm. I met some good doctors while I was growing up. They were very kind, jovial, light people. So I thought, this is a good profession. I was surrounded by doctors, you might say, growing up.
Very interesting. So you finished whatever secondary school is, and then you got university medical school? Is it the same system as we have in America? Oh.
Yeah, it's graduation after high school. So I took 2 years in between to attempt to enter medical school.
I see. So it's competitive to get in, is what you're saying.
It is, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So where did you end up doing your medical training?
In Pune itself. So it was 4.5 years over here. We started in the year 2000 and I ended in 2005, early 2005.
Did you have a specialty?
Yes, following this, then I chose surgery in Delhi. That's where I was pursuing my post-graduation. It was rural surgery.
When you started into medical school, did it fulfill your ideals? Were you disillusioned at all, or did it fulfill what you'd hoped it would be?
I mean, as I went through it, the disillusionment came in because, yes, there is the alleviation of suffering and pain on one level. To quite a degree, the physical things are taken care of. But also, as you start practicing as a doctor, you start seeing death hearing about it every day. You see the limitations. So of course, it was not just the limitation of us not having cure for many illnesses, really. It was also the fact that everybody's going to die, which of course is it's a taken fact. But then that's when I saw this question come, that can this thing be made better? Could we, first of all, prevent illnesses? And secondly, since we all have to die, should we not be questioning that more, understanding, or does somebody know what's happening after death?
Mm-hmm.
Because if nothing is happening after death, then it becomes very important to live in a certain way. Everybody has a list of things to do in your life. But if there is perchance something happening, if we are a soul, as in India we grow up hearing, we are a soul, you come back, you reincarnate, or we will meet our friends and relatives. So I was like, anyway, those questions, I don't know, they started surfacing is how I can say. I was not trying to think of them, but it started with preventing illnesses. So I wanted to study community medicine, which is called preventive medicine also. But I didn't get that subject, so I chose rural surgery, which I thought was closer to, again, being in a rural environment where I can have a wide spectrum of practice and help others prevent illnesses or cure some.
I have a question. I want to come back to the question of suffering, because obviously that's what led you to the path. But first, this is just me, who have no relationship to medicine. Did it frighten you to do surgery? I mean, because you're trying to help someone, but you're also injuring them in the process of helping them. Truthfully, I've never actually asked a surgeon, like, what is it? What is it when you just open up a body? I mean, does it just become impersonal to you? How do you feel about that?
I have to first of all say that the decision to become a surgeon, interestingly, it happened in 5 seconds in my life.
Really?
Till the time I went up to this gentleman who was the administrator for the hospital where I was applying. In my mind, I was going to take community medicine because this hospital is extremely well known and very few people opt for it. It's not luxurious to do preventive medicine. So I went and I said, sir, I'd like to join your department. And I had the marks and necessary certificate. He said, well, that seat is over. There's no vacancy. We have something in rural surgery.
Uh-huh.
And he said it's orthopedics, obstetrics, some general anesthesia, and general surgery. And just something happened in my mind. And I said, okay, I think I'll take that. But trust me, Asha, not for a minute throughout my years of medical practice had I planned or foreseen such a situation, because I just thought, like my father, I'll be a physician, playing with tablets and counseling, or I'll simply do counseling as a community doctor. But it didn't frighten me. I actually saw the potential of service. It was, like I said, it was very broad. I could do childbirth. I could help with somebody's appendix situation. I could help with minor fractures. And I said, my father is a physician. My older sister, by the way, is a psychiatrist. I said, I could learn those skills. I said, this is going in a good direction. I'll play the surgeon. How does it matter what you do? So I was quite non-attached about it. But dealing with the patient and the body itself, I have to confess now, it frightens you, certainly, because you want to know your subject well before. It's like they say in surgery, remember, you have to close this also. That as a young surgeon, you've opened it up and you're like, hey, this is not right, that's not right, let's cut this. And they're like, wait a minute. Cut only what is necessary, because you're going to have to close this up very soon. So it does, you are concerned. Of course, you never get a case without due preparation, but it didn't frighten me. It was very sacred, actually, on the other hand. I vividly remember the first incision, handling of the case, because you see, the patient is, again, unconscious most of the time. So it's extremely sacred, and you are doing something which needs to be done, and you pray for the best result, and then you quickly want to be out of it. But apprehension, fortunately, I didn't feel much.
Thank you for answering that question. I've always wanted to ask a surgeon that question. So, but back to your journey. So now that you're dealing with life and death yourself, then the thought comes to you, but you were not an atheist, or were you? I mean, what was your spiritual context at that point when you started about death and about what happens after death? I mean, were you a traditional Hindu? Did any of those beliefs, were they already yours, or how were you thinking?
Now, by that time, Asha, I had read about how some well-known great souls in India, personalities had served, like Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi. I had read not just about their life, but like particularly how they live, what were their beliefs. So the concept of God was not foreign.
Right.
I certainly didn't have a personal connection with God because I didn't know what that means. There are so many, you might say, images of God in India. I would keep some, but I didn't know again how to speak to a statue, what to make of it. But I knew that it is something I'm open to understanding. You might say I was agnostic. I didn't give it much thought to put myself in any one category, but I was questioning life.
Right.
And then the answers were coming. Later, I would know those answers come from God, or life itself is a creation of God, a stage set up by God. But at that time, I had no idea like that.
What? So you graduated from medical school. How long so you started practicing? Were these questions coming to you? How long did you practice before you began to worry about all these things or think about these things?
No, but these things actually started in the, you might say, second half of medical school also. So like when I say Mother Teresa, reading about Gautam Buddha and suffering, his concept of suffering, or what other doctors are doing in a rural area. I mean, that started coming in what I would say third year, then final year of medical school. In internship, we have the chance to spend full time with the patient. So I could see that, for example, a lot of patients who were coming to cities like Delhi also were from a rural area.
Right.
So this thought came to me, oh, if I have to serve them, I shouldn't be expecting them to be coming here. I should actually go to a rural area. Then the next thought came that, oh yes, in a rural area, air, land, water are cleaner. And then it tied to the thought, oh, most illnesses could be prevented with some counseling and lifestyle changes. And then that led to the question, but at the back of the mind was always, oh, but death will come, we will die. And then, so that's when I found Autobiography of a Yogi.
So how did it come to you? Did someone give it to you, or did you stumble on it?
No, I made up my mind one day. These questions were going on, I made up my mind. I said, okay, this is not leading anywhere. I'm going in circles. This is like revisiting things. Yeah. I said, I just need to go and find a good autobiography of somebody who's had such questions, because I believed in autobiographies, or you might say non-fiction at that time more than fiction. So I said, oh, I'm sure somebody's gone through this kind of stuff before. Let me find a good autobiography, and answers may come from there. And I went to my favorite bookstore at that time in Delhi, home bookshop, and lo and behold, I thought I knew their sections very well, but I went to the autobiography section, and I was more meticulous this time because I wanted to find a particular kind of autobiography, not just any well-known personality. So as I was going through the shelf, I had never, like the last 3-4 times I had gone there, I had not seen Autobiography of a Yogi over there. So this time there was an Autobiography of a Yogi. So out of sheer curiosity, I pulled it out. And as you can guess, just seeing that picture of Master, it just, it was like, who is he? Have I seen this face? I have not seen this face. But his eyes look like he knows what my questions are. And then the logical question, how can a yogi write a book? They often stay away from the world, but this is in English. This is quite detailed. So I started flipping through it. I saw his picture with Mahatma Gandhi. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is not a yogi. This is a yogi who was in the world with Gandhiji and others. And so I immediately kind of started feeling that, again, then this whole, you might say, subconscious memory came. Oh, yogis know about life and death and suffering. So you might say in a very quick instant after seeing that book, in a subconscious way, I felt this book will know what I'm questioning. And then it was just like, yes. So I bought the book and it had the answers.
So where in that process did you meet Swami Kriyananda? What year, let's go back. What year was it when you found Autobiography of a Yogi? Can you say about?
It was 2006.
So
I
Swami
think.
Kriyananda was in India at that point. So how did you find Swami Kriyananda after that?
Well, 2 weeks later, I saw an ad in the newspaper.
Really?
2 weeks after finishing the autobiography,
Uh-huh.
and I saw Master's picture, and then below his picture was Kriyanandaji's picture. And I have to say, I didn't know, again, through the book that there were direct disciples. At least it had missed my attention. This was from YSS, their publication. So I knew they had an ashram and ongoing work. But seeing Swami's picture, and it said a direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda in Delhi. Swamiji was at that time going to do the national launch of the Bhagavad Gita, which was just a few kilometers down from where I was staying. So again, it was like, I had finished the book. I was like, God, what's next? And this came again, seeing Swamiji's picture. I mean, you might say the doctor in me said, I haven't seen such a brilliant old man. I mean, what eyes, what a face. And he's a disciple of Yogananda. I just felt that he's a saint. Something extremely special has happened in his life. I must go for this lecture and see. And then, as you can guess, it introduced me to Ananda, and all the people were there. And I just kept looking at, you might see these spiritual specimens, that everyone was unique, special, beautiful. Like, oh, wow, this is like a new world. It's like I got transferred to some place else, some other people. That's how it was there.
And there would have been a rather international crowd there, yes? Because there were a lot of Americans and Europeans there as well. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was Asha. Karthikeyanji was there. Sheila Dikshit was there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my own inclination was I used to like to read about, world affairs, and that's why the newspaper, I would go through it, and things. And when I saw all these, again, chief minister, CBI director, and all these souls over there, and they spoke, so first of all, I said, oh, something very important is happening over here. And then when Kriyanandaji came, again, I just saw clearly that he was not trying to reach the truth. He kind of had reached it. He was now sharing it. He knew more than others. Again, sorry not to compare him with anybody else, but I just saw wisdom over there. And my modern upbringing showed me that one can become like that in these times through yoga, through discipleship. So I was very impressed in that one meeting.
And did you then seek out the ashram? Did you just immediately, was there any hesitation, or did you just follow through immediately on that?
No, I followed through. The invitations in Ananda are extremely open. They said, we'll have a satsang this Saturday in our ashram. Swamiji will be giving a talk. I said, this is amazing. Here we are, 1,000 people in the auditorium, but next thing we are invited to his house. And I just thought, how will they fit everybody in over there? Except that there were maybe only 80 to 100 people. So I showed up following weekend in Guru in 10 by 8.
In Gurgaon.
10 by 8.
Do you have a recollection of your first personal meeting with Swamiji? Did you meet him on that occasion? Did you speak?
Yes, Asha.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I remember. He, at the end of the satsang, he said, I'd like to bless everybody. And that was just like it was a packed house in that big basement, which you must be knowing it could accommodate. I think there must be easily 100 people. So it started, and I was at the very back end. I had taken a few gifts for him that day. I had taken a book, children's book that I have enjoyed very much. So I took that. I took a letter, a card for him. And when my turn came, it was very special. Of course, my eyes were on him throughout. I've seen, but somebody on my right, I remember, started crying. This like out of feelings and emotions, a lady started sobbing. So everybody's attention turned in that direction. But I wouldn't lose this opportunity. So I kept looking at Swami, and there was this moment where he was of course on a chair. I was down. He just looked, And those eyes, he just looked at me, and then it was like, good. uh, it's like he acknowledged, in 1 second, he acknowledged the presence, and I was so happy. And then he said, so I said, sir, I brought these things for you. This is a book I enjoy very much. And he said, I'll read it later. Then I said, this is a card, I have some questions, and I've written a letter. And he said, I'll come back to you. Or he said, do you want me to read it right now? I said, as you wish. He said, no, there are many people. I'll read it later. So I said, absolutely, as you wish. And he blessed me. So, but I knew that day there was so much joy in my heart. You can imagine, from not knowing there are saints in this world, or the truth is lived in the higher octaves last month, to witnessing it in so many people, in him, to actually then getting one-on-one up close, hearing his voice. He was giving me, you might say, that brief moment. I just thought, and there was so much joy. So I said, and I had written in that letter, I'd like to serve, I want to serve, I like to learn Kriya Yoga. So then life picked up from there, Asha.
So from that, would you say essentially from that moment that your life was defined by Swami Kriyananda's presence? Is that fair to say?
It was, Asha. Also because in this 1 week between when I saw him and got introduced to Ananda till I met him and saw a more, you might say, personal expression. Beaten by it was our only ashram at that time. It was extremely sattvic and uplifting. I had read the book Hope for a Better World. That's the book I picked, one of the 2-3 books I bought on my first occasion, because my question still was, after I heard his talk and saw him as a personification of, you might say, joy and perfection, I said, is there something over here which can help everyone, however? So that question was lingering. And I have to say, I read that book in 1 or 2 sittings, Hope for a Better World. I was convinced he had a blueprint which could help everybody. It was now just a matter of how do we go about it. And basically, to give more context to this, I had read about the communities till that time of Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi. I had even visited some of those to see what's happening, what was the initial ideal for that. But again, I couldn't put a finger on it. They were very uplifting places. But first of all, not many people were living there, and it was a community. It was a vibrant community when those great souls lived there. So I thought, but when I heard about Swamiji and read that book, I saw in Ananda, I said, this is spirituality in daily life. It's happening. And on some level, his clarity in human nature showed me that he knew more than, again, those great souls about how to create these communities, how to really live brotherhood, universality in these times. So I was won over by that time. And it was like, okay, this is really, I really discovered what later I would hear. He said, this is the world's best kept secret. And I was like, this is it.
So Aditya, because I know we could go on for a long time. At the moment, we're going to have to close. So just now, what are you doing? I know that there's a big gap in here that we'll have to fill in, but what are you doing now?
So Asha, I'm living and serving in Pune. I stay with Jayaji over here. It's a wonderful work we have in the city, outside the city. And then, as you know, the work in India has grown. So I serve in the team, larger team also, I like to support good initiatives wherever they might be happening. So that's how I serve. Of course, we are in the lockdown and a lot of, you might say, rethinking is happening. So I don't know how it will pan out, but when I go back, I want to focus a little bit more on my medical services, that in the very Sangha office where I was sitting, I'd like to start seeing patients on 1 day of the week, 2 days of the week, and bring about, because again, having done outreach for a while, I want to continue that. A lot is going online, as you know, but I want to start meeting people, and so that's where I am right now.
And how would you define your being? What does being a disciple mean to you? How would you explain what that means to you?
I think it's for me, the form it takes is I like to question Master and Swamiji every day. I mean, sometimes I think they must be so irritated that here we go again. But the question is, today morning only I was thinking, wow, if there is something like God's will, then all we have to do is ask him what he wants and basically do it. I mean, that is so simple. So I think discipleship for me is a little bit asking. I think I need to relax in that process somewhat, because I like to ask that question a bit all the time, or too often I should say. What do you want me to do? What's good today? And take it, shall I say, a day at a time. But I like to be serviceful as much as I can. And then I pray for energy and strength, that if you have a thought, please give me the strength, give us the strength to do it, because the world needs so much the light that the Masters brought today. So that's how I go about my discipleship.
Oh, Aditya, it's been wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really just been a joy. And I had hoped to come visit you all again. This is being May 2020, when they ever let me out of America and back into India.
Thank you, Asha. We'll see each other online and offline soon.
I hope so, very soon. Let me know. Okay.